Hey everybody, what's up? It's me, it's Pete. And I'm coming back to you with another edition of Pete Plays Tyranny. What are we doing this time? We're going to talk to the Voices of Nerat, see what he's all about right now, and spy on him, I guess. Verse is not going to be with us, which I think is the best possible thing. So the last couple of episodes, we've spent talking to people a lot. The last 5 or 6 episodes. But it's been fun overall. So we're going to travel out to the Stone Sea and see a new area and meet the Voices of Nerat. Alone for the first time, I believe. It seems like we're not going to get stopped, which is nice. Although, you know, I could, at this point, go for a combat encounter, I think. Believe it or not. So, I'm not sure what to expect from this. Really? It's hard. It's been... both in terms of regular days and just like... everything else. It's been seemingly a while since I last actually picked this up. Oh, some people laid out on spears. Welcome to Cacophony, Fatebinder. Nerat said to be expecting you. Where can I find the Voices of Nerat? Northeast corner of the map, near the only real buildings left. If he's not on his throne, he's wandering not too far from it. What can you tell me about Cacophony? It's the main stronghold of the Scholar Chorus in the Tiers. All chorus groups have some of their people here. Horde, Scarlet Furies, Blood Chancers, Bloodhound, even the Beastmen. Everybody's got their own section of camp. Better that way. Keeps the brawling to a minimum. We got a merchant here if you need to buy anything. There's also the quartermaster. But Nerat's got to give him the say, so before you're allowed to get your hands on chorus goods. Then... okay. Alright, bye. Thank you so much for your conversation. Okay, let's go pick up some items, I guess. 45 subterfuge, nailed it. Blood-soaked mantle. Cool. That's a new piece of equipment to put on somebody. The blood-soaked mantle. What does it give? It gives frenzy, it said. Minus 15% recovery time while the character has wounds. That seems cool for a Lantry to wear. In case he gets injured, like his heals and stuff will come up much quicker. There's a lot of shaking going on around here. I like it. There's some people fighting there. Beastmen. Got Splinter right there. I'll probably talk to him. Go over here and check this box. Ooh, really good stuff. A greater healing potion. What? 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 No way. Splinter says, Overlord's blessings to you, Fatebinder. Regards and so on and so forth. Mightn't there be something I can help you with? For the right price. What kind of price? The usual. I help you, you help me. Nothing too steep. Such as? Say I were to give you information, and you're acting on that information, then benefited me in some way or some such way or another. Would be a shallow price for a nice payout, if you get what I mean. What were you up to during the war? Trying to stay alive, mostly. Heard any rumors lately? Any news of interesting things going on around Cacophony? Nothing new, only the usual happenstances. So-and-so killing so-and-so in their sleep and absorbing their gang. Leaders from throughout the tiers entering you-know-whose tent and never stepping out again. The Voices doesn't even leave a body. How do you think he does that? No, on second thought, I surely don't want to know. He licks his tongue over his teeth, scratches his cheek. And you did not hear so much as a whisper from me. Lore 25, but I heard some of his victims end up on spikes, no? Gained 18 lore experience. Sometimes something shows up on the spikes nearest the Voices tent, sure. But whatever it is, you can't exactly call it a body anymore. Get me?
Yeah, I wouldn't go so far as to say husk, because that would be overly dramatic. But they certainly don't look quite right, says Siren.
I'm looking to shed a little blood, make a few rings. Where can you point me? I might have heard wind regarding a squad of disfavored that are giving the Bronze Brotherhood a go of it near Lethian's Crossing. Could be some rings in it for you. There's certainly some fingers to be had. You want me to bring back some disfavored fingers? Broken Plains Wilderness is now unlocked on the map. I want every finger from every hand. Preferably taken before you kill the poor muckers, eh? Do it, and I'll pay you 10 rings each. Don't ask me where I'm getting the rings, and I'll make it 15.
Okay. Have a story behind your name, Splinter?
Well, I woke up with a sharp pain shooting up my backside one night, and... Are you sure you want to hear this?
Yes, please.
I guess it was a piece of a chair. At least as long as my forearm. My mate, Abscess, had whittled it up for weeks to stab it in my spine. Only it didn't kill me, though. Just gave me this damn limp.
He rubs the spot of his lower back towards the right side, wincing either from the pressure or the memory.
Abscess. I thought it was funny. I wouldn't say it was a shoddy weapon. It ended her good and dead when I stuck it in her throat.
Alright, bye! What an interesting fella. Now we got Dirge and Wrathrot over here.
Just what we need. A fate binder of the court. No. Just what we need.
God, I've done that one too. Just what we need. A fate binder of the courts. Look, I understand my rank, but I can't just bite my tongue when boss man Dirge thinks to get away with a crime of such proportions without bribing me first. He grins maniacally, staring daggers at his gang boss even as he speaks to you. Frig you, Wrathnot. Dirge shakes his head, murder written in his sneer. As if you'd settle for a rent rump and a fistful of rings. Admit it. The price you want is my head, so you can stand atop a little crew. A lot of you are babbling idiots. Alright, what are you on about? What crime is being charged? I'm gonna call them idiots.
Speak up, Wrathrot. The fate binder asked you...
Speak up, Wrathrot. The fate binder asked you a question. Oh, that was the wrong guy. You'll be hanged for breaking Kairos' law, Dirge. Even the Voices can't protect you against that. If I involve myself in this dispute, you may both come to regret it. Do or don't. I'll be taking my retribution from this canker-assed weasel in the form of a blood payment regardless.
Not if you're rotten on a string, you fribbling puss not.
He sneers at his gang boss before turning to you.
Please do step in, fate binder. A capital crime's been committing.
And I saw it with my own eyes. 3 nights back, boss man snuck into and out of the old walls near Lake Twin Skies. You shit-face, Dirge barks at his subordinate. Think you could steal the throne when you're breathing around my blade in your chest? Or maybe it's your crafty forked tongue I should carve out first. He crosses his arms over his chest, simmering with indignation. But as he scowls, a hint of worry flickers across his furrowed brow. He licks his lip before entreating you to dismiss the complaint against him. Like I would be dumb enough to risk my entrails scurrying around some fusty ruins. Think I don't know why they're forbidden? Scouring the old walls is just asking to incite Kairos' wrath. And I've got no death wish, either from the Bane within, nor Kairos above, nor Fatebinder of Tunon before me. The old walls are indeed forbidden. There is no leniency in the interpretation of this law. I can sentence you now, Dirge, or I can hear your plea and adjudicate you a fair ruling. False accusation is an insidious crime, Rathnot. What proof do you have of your claims? I'll ask for proof. Proof? Like what? It's not like I follow him into the old walls, so I could properly document his transgressions. I saw him go in and out, chasing the sage. That ought to be evidence enough. Oh my. If it's solid evidence you need, let's go check where the sage's body lies. He spits indignant. A sage in the old walls? What sage? Or only those under direct orders from the overlord or operating under agency of Tunan's court may enter the old walls? Or why are you so eager for me to sentence Dirge, Rathrod? Guys, I gotta text my girlfriend. If you've made it this far, I hope you are willing to suffer this transgression. Okay. Sage in the old walls. What sage? Only those under direct orders from the overlord are operating under the agency of Tunan's court and under the old walls. Why are you so eager for me to send her Dirge, Rathrod? I'll ask about the sage. I'm curious about that. Want to tell the Fatebinder, or should I? He laughs vicious. The gang boss cocks his head to you, face flushed red as he explains. The thing is, me and Wrath had been chasing a sage clear from Lethians. I guess she figured she was going to slip us, so she made a beeline for this breach in the old walls. I know the law, so I wasn't about to follow her in. He wets his lips before continuing. But I'd also be loath to let an enemy of the overlord slither free, so I cornered her before she could make it past the breach. This asshole here's the one who slit her damn throat as I held her down. Now he's saying he watched me waltz right into the old walls without him. Oh, come on, Fatebinder. Are you going to believe that? I called you over here. I'm telling you what happened. Don't let him weasel out of a proper sentence. Why are you so eager for me to sentence Dirge, Rathrod? Eager? The Horde member rubs at the back of his neck, ill at ease. I mean, I'm just thinking, on account of Dirge being a true criminal under Kairos' laws, he really isn't fit to lead this gang no more. So somebody like me ought to be running things. You see, Fatebinder, all he has in his is his scheming and lies. He knows he'll lose if he challenges me outright, so he thought he'd accuse me of a crime even when the voices couldn't dismiss. He stares icily at Rathrod. Did you take anything from the old walls? I gotta ask more questions before I make a decision. Yeah, only those under direct orders from the overlord can enter the old walls. Great, if you think I did it. What's to happen to me then? He scowls, face streaked with disbelief. That's the proper sentence. I'm no Fatebinder, but even I know the way of it. He sneers, eyes gleaming eagerly. Isn't that right, Fatebinder? It's a capital offense. I can say Rathrod's right. The sentence is death. There can be no leniency in the interpretation of this law. And I can say, actually, I'm going to sentence Rathrod, which is very strange. Given the circumstances, death is too harsh a penalty. Dirge will be given 50 lashes instead. Stay away from the old walls in the future. No crime has been committed, so no sentence is necessary. The penalty for breaching the old walls is the payment of 500 rings or 15 years of hard labor. Or enough. I find you both guilty of wasting a Fatebinder's time. 50 lashes each. I feel like, you know what? I don't like Rathrod snitching, and I don't think my character would be cool with that. So I'm sentencing Rathrod. I get in favor of Bleed Mark. That's weird. You what? The penalty for false accusation is the severance of 2 fingers on the sword-bearing hand. Or I'll let Rathrod choose his own punishment. A fine of 300 rings or 3 years of hard labor. I could lie and say the penalty for false accusation is death by impalement. I could say I'll let Rathrod off the hook if he licks my boots and begs my apology. Or I could say I'll let Rathrod off the hook if he licks Barrick's boots and begs my apology. Weird. I'm going to take 2 of his fingers. In favor with the Scarlet Chorus. Nicely put, Fatebinder. Rathrod's an idiot and a liar to boot. Give him a piece of justice for thinking he could take what's mine. No, wait, you can't. This hasn't turned out right at all. Fatebinder, please, have mercy. It was all a misunderstanding, you see. I've gained loyalty with Siren. Now this is the type of education I could watch all day. I applaud you, Fatebinder. I've taken your fingers, sir. Heed my words. You will not be forgiven so easily. So Dorsey's over here as well as an item. We'll go check that out. We got a light leather vest. It could be good. That seems like it would be good for verse. Lowers recovery, which I don't like having on my mages. Of course, he can't wear that. Not that much better than what I have. I mean, I could take it regardless, but... Dorsey. Hey, Fatebinder. I remember you from the Battle of Edgering. You made sure the chorus got reinforcements after those disfavored idiots didn't leave any enemies alive to recruit. Abandoned cache is now unlocked on the world map. If you're ever in desperate need for supplies, feel free to loot one of the chorus's caches. I'll mark it on your map. Just my way of saying thanks. Well, thank you. Thank you. A short conversation where I was rewarded for a prior action. That's actually pretty good. Got some more items. Grain, fish, bronze, Qatar. Cool. We got these two. We need the bodies, you mewling pisses. Face red, veins popping in her neck. The Scarlet Fury screams at the horde clustered before her. She waves her arms wildly as she shouts, almost dance-like in her agility, a blade clutched in each hand. Unlike you cockered pig nuts, these conscripts can survive a battle. One of the horde members spits a blackish mix of herbs and phlegm at the Scarlet Fury's chest. So they say to save their necks, but what good's the word of oathbreakers and cowards? Furious and nearly faster than the naked eye can follow, she slashes a return strike. A splotch of red blooms across the offending spitter's chest, a match to her fresh sputum stain. The crowd tenses like a coiled spring, ready to hurl themselves into a bloody fracas. I'm gonna turn a blind eye to this. That's fine, dude. Let that go. That's not me. That ain't me, bro. That ain't me, baby. That ain't me, baby. What's this marker down here? Bloodhound Camp. Oh, it's just marking the area we're in. Sanguinari. She's busy. Scraps of food and cloth litter to the floor of the tent. Let's go check this box over here. Get some fish. Go up here. Get whatever's in here. A heavy bronze crested helmet. Probably not going to wear that. I don't think any of my guys really wear heavy armor except for Barrick. Because he's tanking everything up. So we could rest, but everybody's like totally healed up, so it's not that big of a deal. Beastman pen. Let's go over there. See if we can find anybody to talk to on the way. Probably these guys up here. We've got a problem we can't settle, Fatebinder. When we plotted against vile arson, we agreed we'd split the spoils 4 ways. But now that the rings, rugs, and booze bottles are laid bare before us, Seems some folk feel entitled to more than their fair share.
You want me to adjudicate a settlement between thieves? Who's vile arson? Who's vile arson?
A deranged pisser of a man and our old gang boss. He deserved everything he got and more.
The Horde members all nod as Requiem explains.
He stole whole cartfuls of rings and polished stones after Azur crumbled. We dug the items up, hauled bags of them all over the place, but got none of the payoff. Plus, he used to beat Calamity Jinn and Gnashing Nils for fun.
Only those two? He didn't beat the rest of you?
Well, he tried once.
The girl grins, boisterous and confident in the way only a past triumph can provide. Requiem looked out for us. If he'd laid off the rest of us, we might have let him live. You want me to adjudicate a settlement between thieves?
Thieves? We didn't filch nothing. We killed vile arson and took his property by right of the Circle of Fists. Though Gnashing Niles is right. As our weakest, she's earned a right to these spoils most of all for the abuse vile arson heaped on her over the years.
I could say, I'll hear your plea if everyone is in agreement of my involvement. Or I could say, that's a pretty loose interpretation of your Archon's law. The strong lead, the weak serve, doesn't give you permission to freely murder others. I'd say, why is that? I'll hear your plea if everyone's in agreement. The choir woman nods.
I certainly am. I'd like to settle this and put it behind us. What of the rest of you?
I am also interested in this Fatebinder's ruling. Let an outsider weigh in. Surely then you'd see the greater weight of my contributions. One more of the more timid Horde members ducks her head, scratching through the back of her hair.
Are you sure? I've heard bad things about inviting the court's judgment. Once a Fatebinder gets involved, the ruling is absolute, isn't it?
She glances to Requiem and Chaos, reading their clues before she relents.
Okay, I guess I'll go along with it.
Calamity Jinn, the last one, shrugs.
Doesn't matter to me. I already decided to give up my share. I just wanted the bastard dead.
Then let us proceed. Tell me what happened, and I'll determine how the goods should be dispersed. Or I'll hear you out, but know that my judgment may come at a cost. Or lie, go on, but I should tell you now. I know if you try to lie to me. Yeah, I'll say I know that they're gonna try to lie to me. The four exchange looks before one of them clears her throat awkwardly.
Right then. Guess I'll start off.
She cracks her neck and squares her back, eager to relay her part and be done with it.
We all got tired of being cut out and watching him torture Nils. So when Requiem suggested the plan, I was eager to lure him into our trap.
She glances around and speaks a little softer as she continues.
Had to use my finest hooch. I brewed it in a bronze boot I found on the battlefield. But after a couple of hours, I had him nice and relaxed, stripped him of his armor, and distracted him after that. That's when I snuck out from under the straw bedding.
She runs a hand over the bloody markings on her skin, long, dried, but worn out of pride.
Arson never did anything. Eat, sleep, or shit without a weapon. But we'd hobbled him enough that I was able to hack him to ribbons. Eventually, he started crawling for the flap of the tent.
Where Requiem had stationed me. He crosses his arms over his chest, standing broad and tall. I slit Arson's throat to end it, dismembered his body, and spent the night scattering his bits between the fighting pit, two latrines, and a salivating beastman. It was bloody and long work, but it was damn worth it. The last gang member flushes and shyly turns her face away under your scrutinizing gaze.
I just stood watch a few tents down. I'm sure someone heard the screams, but no one came running, so it worked out fine.
I could say I've made my decision, or you each seem equally satisfied with the outcome of events. Why are you fighting over the goods then? Or who will lead you in vile Arson's absence? Who's going to lead you? Without a moment's hesitation, the quiet girl speaks up, sounding more sure than she has the entire exchange.
Requiem, she saved us.
Requiem. He nods brusquely. I'd follow these girls into the screaming jaws of death if they asked me to. I don't care which one's leading us when we get there. Okay, I'm going to ask about what they're equally satisfied. The Horde member rubs her chin as if wondering to herself. Finally, she offers a carefree grin. Guess it's just in our nature. If we don't take what we can when we can get it, then how will we ever get ahead? I've made my decision. Come on, Fatebinder. The weight's killing me. What's your call? She cracks her back, restless. Like I say, the majority of the shares will go to Gnashing Nils in recompense for the crime she suffered at the hands of vile arson, which reportedly motivated his death. The rest will be split evenly amongst you. Or I can say the goods are to be split evenly 4 ways, as this is the most fair and expedient resolution to your dispute. I can say none of you are entitled to the wealth. You'll destroy this cash as it's caused a squabble between you. Or half of the shares will go to Requiem for a proactive organization of the mutiny. The other half will be allocated to cover my legal fees. Or for luring arson into the trap, half the shares will go to Calamity Jinn. The rest you will split evenly between you. Or the cash goes to Chaos for carrying the burden of risk punishment. He handled and destroyed the evidence, putting himself most at risk for being caught. I'm gonna split it evenly. Whatever. Gain favor with the Scarlet Chorus. She laughs, face tinging a pleasant shade of pink under the splotches of her bloody war paint. After all that build-up, well, it ought to be fine, yeah. We didn't kill Arson for his damn rings. Even the Fatebinder thinks we should set it behind us so we can move on. I suppose we got no complaint. He shrugs, but when he sighs, it sounds filled with longing for the fortune lost. Lantry chimes in and says, a predictable answer, but a good one all the same. If the rewards are not split evenly, there will be hurt feelings when the gang is later expected to share risks equally. Alright, cool. Solved. Those guys just literally disappeared, which is interesting. Ooh. Bronze and iron ingots. Pretty good. Merchant braziers. Pretty much the same exact thing as what Lantry's wearing, which is interesting. And what she's wearing? Whatever. Take it all. Okay. Can I talk to any beastmen? Doesn't seem like it. Like humans in chorus back, so many feel beast woman. Let beast woman hunt and fight wherever rending claws begin to itch. Okay, I think we're about ready to head up to meet with the Archon, with the voices. We've walked around camp and met everybody we could, so solved some disputes and stuff. Probably quickly speak with Seven Toes, I guess, before the voices. Huh. Oh, don't keep him waiting. The voices wants to speak to you. There's a little treasure behind here, though. We got Elixir of Quickness, Hide, and Scroll. Okay. Cool, Scroll. Can use that to upgrade our building. The Voices of Nerat regards you with an unreadable expression.
Po Trinity. It is the fate of all. And yet so many of us are obsessed with making every waking moment leading up to it a fresh new misery. Is that our favorite Fatebinder? If you had not guessed, we were contemplating the outcome at Vendrian's Well. As if proclaiming and resolving the same edict weren't impressive enough, you found the temerity to reject Graven Ash and support our right to conquer these lands. You deserve a just reward when this is over, but it is... Whoops. But it's too early to congratulate ourselves while there's plenty of war still to fight.
Whoa. I gain wrath with the Voice of Nerat. Not much wrath, though.
Though we were less impressed by your treatment of our gangs in Stalwart. You let them go to sleep on empty bellies. Tut, tut, Fatebinder.
The voice admonishes you with a raised finger.
Ah, a songbird. How are you, dear? It's been so long since you visited Cacophony. We had worried that you forgot Uncle Nerat.
He opens his arms to embrace Siren. Siren responds by saying,
Well, I might not be able to get inside that head of yours, Uncle. I am more than capable of turning this camp against you. It might cost me my life, but if it kept you from touching me, it would be worth it. Step back, or our reunion will be blood-soaked.
We look forward to catching up in time. You won't always follow at the Fatebinder's heels, will you, dearest? He turns to you. What do you need to know? We're dizzy with answers.
So what's your plan? I'm ready to talk strategy.
Of course you have questions. We'd be disappointed if you didn't have any. Our first priority is to humiliate that piss bucket, Graven Ash. But we'll have a better chance of it once every corner of the tiers is wearing red. Do you see our designed Fatebinder? Does our madness complement our method? We will invite every man, woman, or child who draws breath and occupies this fingernail of a peninsula to join the Scarlet Chorus.
How do you expect to do that? If you can't outfight the disfavored, out-recruit them? Say nothing? A conquest by invitation? How very polite? Or don't you think everyone who is going to join you has already done so? I'll say a conquest by invitation, how very polite. I'm trying to be funny.
Isn't it?
Graven Ash would
Slash and burn this whole continent. We must counter his wanton evil with acceptance and tolerance for these poor Tismen. Conquest is a delicate matter. It needs feeding, watering, soft caresses, a lullaby before bed. We will invite the leaders of the resistance to join us. If we have their leaders, the people will follow. You will bring them to us, yes? Chiefs and the assets of chiefdom. As for how you factor into these plans, that is in part up to you. We have many ingots in the fire. It's more of a question of what piques your interests. The Blade Grave is a beautiful pocket of disorder. An edict shreds the land to ribbons, and soldiers by the hundreds are led into the furnace of war. Angry sons of old Stalwart, dubbing themselves Unbroken, clash spears with the disfavored. We can use the edict and the conflict to our benefit. They keep the disfavored occupied, and the tiers within our grasp. While these idiot juggernauts bash each other into ruin, we can extract what we need. The daughter of Graven Ash has been a prisoner to these stalwart wretches. Secure her for us, and fetch her to Cacophony straight away. Inviting Ash's progeny into the fold is an advantage we cannot ignore. Seek out also Jagged Remedy in Trapper's Junction. He has cornered a beleaguered unit of Unbroken. Help him recruit their leader, Matthias, into the fold, that he might help us reach that jewel of a realm, the Gray's Keep of Sentinel Stand. A document of great power, the Silent Archive, rests in the burning library. The archive is said to hold many secrets, any of which we can twist to our advantage. One of our gang bosses, the Censor, seeks the entrance to this queenly treasure. Aid her in the search, and dispatch her back to us with any findings. Report back to us when you're finished. Our intelligence may be of use to you.
What can you tell me about the Blade Grave?
Before our conquest, it was the region of Stalwart, warlike and fiercely independent in character. The Regent bloodline ruled by their torrid and often inbred lines of succession. Of course, the Edict of Storms has thrown all of that to disorder.
Who rules that area now?
A complex question with no clear answer. The Unbroken Legion, a rabble group of veterans from the Stalwart army, struggled to maintain hold by force of arms. Behind the walls of Sentinel Stand, the last of the regents lives out his days, no doubt thinking himself as strong and relevant as ever.
Tell me about Graven Ash's daughter.
As severe and uncompromising as her idiot father. We would liken her to a tower shield with a voice like a ram's horn warped out of time. We met the girl but once, and we nearly came to blows. If war and the passage of years have softened her temper, then we should get along magnificently when you present her at Cacophony.
About the Edict of Storms.
Ah, your little handiwork. We envy you, Stormcaller, to have been the conduit for such power. It must have been a pleasure like no other.
Swirling maelstroms now blast the land, and sentinels stand. The forfeited heart of the Blade Grave is both trapped and imprisoned by Kairos' edict. The cowardly regent who survived the war hides there to this day, protected and imprisoned by Kairos' anger. Only by piercing the unforgiving fabric of that storm could anyone reach its heart and drive a blade through its core. What does that say? Kairos drafted the Edict of Storms to punish the defenders of Stalwart for hiding behind the walls of their keep. The wording of the edict specifies that the death of Stalwart's ruling family will end the storm. To this day, the locals are welcome and encouraged to assassinate their former leader. That's cool. What can you tell me about the burning library? A repository of books engulfed in the flame of Kairos' edict. Yet the pages refused to burn. The sages cast protective magic over their ancient archive. Books by the thousands lay bare for the reading, but forbidden and hot to the touch. Then there's the greatest treasure of all, the silent archive, an intelligent living text. The archive is safeguarded in the lowest depths of the library, locked away from undeserving eyes. Our censor, dispatched to the library, seeks the archive as we speak. Tell me about the silent archive. Must you bore with your incessant ponderings? Go speak with our lackey, Seven Toes. She can weather the relentless assault of your curiosity. Dude, come on, I have more questions. Death surrounds us, but it would be useless to avoid inevitability. That is a lesson Graven Ash and his fast-clotting army will never understand as they scramble to avoid the grave. Welcome back, Fatebinder. What do you need to know? We're dizzy with answers. Curious about the Scarlet Chorus's history. And why wouldn't you be? Rest a spell and let our words wriggle among the chaos of your imagination. The great uninformed think of the Scarlet Chorus as one of Kairos' many armies. In fact, they are our personal force, beginning in the earliest days of our power. We cobbled together a rabble of miscreants from our freshly conquered territories. The Scarlet Chorus has always been dredged from the bottom feeders. Then there are the camp followers who skulk in our long shadow. As Kairos forged the rest of the great empire, we were used to be subdued by any lingering resistance. Those who opposed Kairos' peace joined our howling disharmony and lived or died in Kairos' war. A fitting fate, is it not? By the time Kairos set a magnanimous eye on the tears, it was all but assumed that the Scarlet Chorus would lead the vanguard. Though they answer to us, we are happy to loan their services to the Overlord's pleasure. Tell me of the Scarlet Chorus's tenets. Tenet the first. Whatever you can claim through sheer force of will is yours for the taking. Those who think us chaotic should spend some time away from the farm and learn what it means to survive. That also means you can kill who you want. Kairos' peace extends to servants of the Empire, but these tearsmen haven't enjoyed the pleasure of our laws yet. Until they do, you can treat them like sport. And not even starchy old Tunon will get offended. Any other rules, if you must call them that, fall under the umbrella of that basic philosophy. Take what you want, but keep what you take. How do you manage an army as fast as the Scarlet Chorus? They manage themselves, of course. Men and women of grit rise in the ranks to become gang bosses. When they take too many wounds or their swords grow too heavy, other boss claims their rightful place. In all our years, we've never granted a promotion. Conscripts and slaves are free to elevate their rank or make up ranks as they go. The only condition is that they have the strength to defend the spot they carve out for themselves. Would you tell me something about yourself? Why, we're honored that you would ask. Over the course of our lifetime, we have eaten no less than 20 silver spoons, and plan on eating 20 more. Never mind why. But we suspect that isn't what you want to know. A puff of green mist swirls from behind his mask, taking the form of a smile before dispersing. Yes, that's exactly it. Tell me more. You want more? Well, we're happy to indulge. We once challenged the Archon of Winds to a foot race. We won by planting a lackey at the finish line beforehand, wearing a believable replica of her mask. We got to call her the Archon of Gullibility for a decade. The Archon prattles on for several minutes, abruptly changing the subject just when your attention wanes. It's like we always said, if the Beastmen tribes recognized a quarter of their potential, they could devastate Kairos' forces. He continues on to the next subject without pausing or giving you room to speak. Well, let's keep listening. Tunan's gavel is only as powerful as his lawful right to wield it. Think about that. Does it muddle your senses to imagine how? As he goes on, you feel as if this good-natured discussion is entering dangerous territory. Siren says, I know you might not understand this right now, but it has been talking for a very long time. Can we leave? Keep listening. But we have plumbed the ocean's depths or peered into the spaces between stars. If people saw the world through our eyes, they wouldn't call us mad. We once dropped the seventh eye down a crevasse just to see what was at the bottom. We were surprised to find. You don't remember how the conversation got here, and that frightens you. Keep listening. The Archon talks at great length, leading you down a labyrinth of rhetoric at once alien and fascinating, sensible and mad. While the voices could sway masses, you get the impression that he is just as accustomed to jabbering to himself in isolation. You leave the experience in numb disbelief, wondering what you've just taken away from the exchange. That was incredible. Thank you. I've gained favor with the Scarlet Chorus. Sure. I'm actually curious about your history. By all means, then. Would you prize secrets for our green flame, or luxuriate in the calming wind of our brilliance? Well, you cannot. Every secret is as precious to us as 1,000 lies, and we will consign you to the interrogators if we find you stealing even a recipe for a hardtack. I don't wish to steal your secrets, Archon, only to learn from your brilliance, or say, are you insane? Is that why you can't answer a simple question? I don't wish to steal your secrets. The Voices of Nerat regards you with an unreadable expression. Have at us, then. You may question us to your heart's content. Show no mercy. Why do you speak to yourself of yourself in the plural form? Because it is absolutely insane. Do you really need another reason? Says Siren. That much should be obvious, but we are multitudes, an army unto ourselves, a council of shadows babbling to be heard. Where there was one, now there are many. We are legion, a stream of consciousness given shape, will, and intention. We are the Voices of Nerat. Why the green flames? We are greater than your confines. No stable form can house our magnificence. The flames about his neck flare out to form a regal collar. No mind could house our intellect. No body could entrap our skill. We are an all-consuming fire, unfixed and resplendent. Your art. Gain favor with the Voice of Nerat and the Scarlet Chorus. Yes, and you are a receptive audience. You understand us more than many have tried or ever will. Tell me of your rise to power. In our youth, we were the youngest scion of House Nerat. These would be the early years of Kairos' reign, if numbers make any difference to your fragile matter. The Northern Empire wasn't the bastion of order and peace as we know it today. Our gracious overlord contended with sedition and lawlessness from his subjects, from his enemies, and even from the noble house of Nerat. Yes, I'm sure you were all incredibly noble. Let me guess. Your father was in debt to 100 brothels, and your mother drugged herself senseless so she didn't have to deal with looking at you. We would continue without your commentary, songbird. He shoots her a piercing look, flaring up the green flames in his eyes. Whispers spread as whispers do. House Nerat never lacked in petty neighbors and bitter rivals. You must remember that these were delicate years for the Overlord. An accusation of treason was as damning as treason itself. Something had to be done before we fell under the shadow of our family's guilt.
How did you escape the shadow of guilt?
We did what comes naturally, of course. We took initiative. Before any accusations could fly, we had our family driven to the city square and pilloried among the masses of Kairos' unfaithful. Before the shocked eyes of the community, we interrogated them one by one, flaying their skin with tanner's knives and putting their loyalties to the test. Father, mother, sisters, aunts, all of them questioned, all of them found guilty.
You tortured your own family?
We tortured enemy of Kairos for the safety of the Empire. It was our ardent hope that someone would recognize the justness of our act, the uncompromising need to carve a place for ourselves outside of our unfortunate family.
What city was this?
In no tongue your ear would recognize, we called it Waterlogged Marsh. You won't find it, our homeland, on maps, but that is a story for another day.
Were they guilty?
We don't remember. We remember choosing to survive, and we remember the sound of skin peeling away from muscle. The rest was formality. It was all a demonstration for the Overlord. This one can be trusted, a message that was gratefully received. Our devotion to Kairos was the terror and pride of the community. The son of Nerat had grown to something greater than our family name. In time, the Archon of Misery heard tell of our deeds and invited us to a better life.
I could not have done all of that for advancement, I figured, but what else am I supposed to say?
To our eternal delight, the disapproval of a gnat like yourself will never matter. When you are ashes upon the breeze, we will be playing an instrument of jubilation as we dance the length of the old walls.
You said the Archon of Misery offered a better life?
He took it upon himself to be our instructor. He taught us the beauty of agony, how to slide the knife just so, how to divide flesh with no mortal wound, and how to inflict waking nightmares upon our foes. No more of our clumsy, blood-soaked efforts for spectacle. True torture is a sensory performance, staged for an audience of one. He made us an artist. We were proficient at our work. Our name spread beyond the boundaries of the child empire as people whispered it in private, or shrieked it in fear. Whole galleries were erected to display our accomplishments, which were studied and interpreted by head-scratching scholars. Our talent with the blade, rope, and saw grew so renowned that Kairos' faithful and unfaithful alike believed we could steal truths from the minds with little more than a stare. And in time, life imitated art. Such is the beauty of Kairos' domain, that the remarkable reign over the mediocre and their talents are recognized, nourished, perfected.
Back to my previous questions. I want to ask about your power. You are a remarkable person.
We must concede to your flattery, but we can't boast anything as incredible as power, can we?
Green smoke behind his mask forms a crude smile. They say you're an interrogator without equal. What's your secret? We learned this earlier. Through powers, you can't begin to understand the voice of Nerat steals minds and knowledge of his victim. Yeah, we've read that before. What's your secret?
We are full of secrets, and we can't be expected to share them with the adoring masses. We're certain that you have a few of your own, and wouldn't want them brought to light.
His empty green eye sockets stare with intensity.
But we do love a flatterer, don't we? A kind word here and there is enough to melt the coldest heart, of which we have several.
I'm ready to learn anything you'll teach me.
You are? Are you sure you know what you're suggesting?
It's your funeral, not that they'll find a body.
Teach you? Impudent, ambitious little morsel. Our lessons come at a steep price.
He chuckles, sending a gust of putrid green smoke across the gap between you.
You will come to learn of us in time. Observe the workings of Cacophony. Observe our grand design. One day our talents will be laid bare for you.
I already said that. What? Okay. Can't do anything with that. What happens after you interrogate someone?
Are you sure you want to know, Fatebinder? Let me make one thing clear. No matter how it starts, it always ends the same way, with a horrible death. It's a transcendent experience. The subject and I, we grow to trust, depend on, and even love each other. We have long since learned that pain and the intensity of our conversation make strange bedfellows. Applied together, anything can happen. You never know, one day you might experience it yourself.
Have you ever tried to absorb another Archon?
It amuses us to no end that you would bring that up. A brave question, full of meaning, of questions, of challenge.
The Archon makes a determined fist and stares at you.
We have had occasion to execute an Archon or two when Bleeding Mark was unavailable. This was all within the limits of the law, you understand. Someone gets an inflated sense of self-importance and decides to start their own small empire, and we step forward to volunteer our services. The experience was always less fulfilling than we had hoped. Their personality succumbs to us, but none of their power. A waste of potential, we call it. Is your knowledge limitless? What's a question? We know many things beyond the purview of the disgusting farmers and merchants you'll find outside of our vaunted stronghold. Much more than any of them could learn in 100 lifetimes. When you know as much as we do, this much will seem obvious. He leans uncomfortably close to whisper. Nothing is limitless, child. Let's talk about something else. I had further questions about the locations you're sending me to. We tire of talking to you. Go speak to our lackey Seven Toes. She can listen to your prattle.
Okay. The other options were just leaving conversation. So that was cool and interesting. Kind of fascinating. And the Voices of Nerat is even more scary considering he killed his entire family by flaying them. That ain't cool.
Hail, Fatebinder. The Voices of Nerat ordered me to answer any of your pestering questions, so I guess that's what I'm here to do, she scoffs. Not what I'd call a lieutenant's work, but I'm not here to question the Voices. So what do you need from me?
What do you think of the Voices of Nerat?
He's the boss. He calls the shots and I follow. I don't ask a lot of questions.
She glances around, uncomfortable.
I'll say this much. You don't want to insult him. Especially when he's going on about his art. He takes that sort of thing personally. Not that you could really tell under that great bronze helmet of his.
Do you enjoy your work in the Scarlet Chorus?
I enjoy surviving, and right now the chorus is the only way to do it. The disfavored don't allow foreigners into their legion. Until the war is over and the tears under Kairos' heel, it's red or dead. I never suspected I would have a taste for the work until I got started at the front lines. Something about carving a path through your enemies and watching the army grow behind you is just satisfying. Makes me feel good to belong to something.
Tell me about yourself.
I started out like most Scarlet Chorus rats, conscripted off the farm and armed with a pitchfork. It didn't take me long to warm up to the idea of Kairos' army. We had more freedom than the Tears ever allowed, and I've never been opposed to joining the winning side. I didn't want to see the whole war from the front lines, so the first order of business was to kill my gang boss and take his place. Easily done. He was a louse. I ran with at least a half-dozen gangs since the start of the conquest, and it funneled me all the way to Cacophony. It's not an easy life, but there's no lack of amusement to be had. And plenty of opportunities for advancement. If you're curious how I got this gig, you can check out the previous lieutenant over there.
She thumbs to a still figure impaled on a pike.
The Voices is a sucker for ambition and clever solutions to a problem.
Okay, I have questions about my first task.
Go ahead. Can't have you doing the Voice's bidding uninformed. He's not what you'd call a perfectionist, at least by our understanding of the word, but he likes to have his orders understood.
What can you tell me about the Blade Grave?
The Edict of Storms stored up something good. Made it all but unrecognizable from Old Stalwart. That hasn't stopped fanatics like the Unbroken from rallying as if their old country still existed. Last I heard, they've had Graven Ash's daughter in chains since the last year of the conquest. I don't know how Stalwart treats its prisoners, but the disfavored are known for taking a beating. There's no telling what she's endured. Who rules the area now? No telling these days. The disfavored are normally in control, but the Unbroken act like they never lost the war. Of course, their leaders are holed up behind the walls of Sentinel Stand, so no matter how you cut it, there isn't much to rule, unless you want to be queen of a tornado, which doesn't sound half bad. Tell me about Graven Ash's daughter. If she's anything like her father, then she's as stubborn as a wall and nearly half as smart. All that aside, they say she fights like a charging beast. We heard about her even before the disfavored marched south. She's got a temper, something fierce, and an independent streak that's always been at odds with her disfavored roots. Curious about your thoughts on the Edict of Storms. The only good thing about the edict is that you can see it from plenty far away. A massive tornado built of Kairos' frustration swirls around Sentinel Stand, the seat of power in Old Stalwart. They say that it'll only exhaust itself when the last of Stalwart's ruling family is dead. Can't say if that's true or not, but it makes a good story, eh? Let's talk about something else. What can you tell me about the burning library? Used to be known as the Vellum Citadel. It's not a pretty sight since Kairos' Edict of Fire burned up the old Sage Fortress and made the treasure inside damn near unreachable to anyone. That won't stop the censor from trying. We still find reasons to fight for that flaming hole in the ground. There's something called the Silent Archive that the Voices seems to think he can recover. Even if we pulled some books out of that inferno, I can't think of anyone but him who could read them. Tell me about the Silent Archive. Hey, what do I know? Considering the place is a library, I guess we're talking about book or many books. Go find a sage and beat it out of them if you're so curious. That certainly won't be necessary. The Silent Archive is the centuries-long passion project of the School of Ink and Quill, a magical repository of knowledge that generations of sages have built upon over the ages. And no, I was never allowed to see it. 30 years of service, and I still need another decade to be considered for the initiation. What's this about the edict? The sages refused to bend the knee and give up their research. What's more, they defended the Vellum Citadel by raining fire on the heads of our armies. Enough was enough, so Kairos set the place to burn. The sages must have laid some protection on the library, because it seems to burn without burning, you know? It just stands there in flames, not turning to ash like it should. Who's the censor? One of the Voices' gang bosses. She takes the duty of controlling information, as if the Archon couldn't do it himself. My guess, she wants to be the next Archon of Secrets, so she's positioning himself as the middlewoman between the Voices and any words of wisdom he considers valuable. We'll see how long that lasts. Let me ask you something else. I guess I'll start at the burning library. I don't envy you the task, no matter what you find there. Good hunting. Okay. So we've pretty much done everything I wanted to do here. And we're pushing another hour-long episode. So we're heading to the Silence of Secrets. To the Burning Library. And we'll probably do a side quest or something on the way. I think we're finally now going to get back to the portion of the game that has combat in it. Boy, I feel like over the past 5 episodes, I've read like a freaking novel, man. I got a missive too. Oh man, I can't read this right now. I'll read that later. No, read it now, Pete. Okay, I might as well. Oh, it won't let me read it. Damn it.
Let's do a brash introduction. Fatebinder Mythos. My name is Basic, and I recently resolved Kairos' Edict of Execution and claimed the Mountain Spire of the Tears. I am now the Master of Vendrian's Well, and a question mark to many, as it seems Awaken the Spire has shocked everyone. Regalis said you were wise and knowledgeable in matters best not discussed in front of the Archons. I seem to have stumbled into my ownership of the Spire and feel I should learn all that I can about this monument that is now my own. If you will be forthcoming with your knowledge, I promise you will be rewarded when the time comes to show your gratitude to the loyal. Fatebinder Basic. Send it. Okay. Whatever. What else do I have going on? Tune on. Just him and I. A bunch of favor and a bunch of hate. Okay, so this has been another episode of Basic Plays Tyranny. Nope, Pete Plays Tyranny. Great. Pushed an hour. Now we're going to venture out and do some quests. I appreciate you watching. And, of course, as always, check out IndieGamesAAA.com. Check out my review channel, Basic Reviews. And check out our podcast, Mandate Radio. I will see you next time with another edition of Pete Plays Tyranny. Have a good night. Bye.